right, I'm going to interrupt my regularly scheduled programming here with the R8 series. So I'm going to come out here in the wash bay. My truck really needs to get cleaned up. I really want to. I'm failing on the whole beadmaker application on this particular car because I put it on like 3.5 weeks ago. What I wanted to do was put it on and then start to maintain it with as a drying aid, so we can really test out how it does with this particular coating. I've via reliable sources, I know it's going to work on certain other products, but this specific kamikaze combo, and then by proxy, putting it on Colonite and putting it on all these other options, how's it going to go? How's it going to work? So I got the old camera out mainly because the new darn camera takes hours and hours and hours to render, right? So I render it, and then the upload. The upload is what takes the most time, shooting in 4K. So I'm gonna have to get gig. I can't get gig speed, upload speed here, but I can at the garage. So that'll make a big difference for me, being able to do that, get that, so that I can shoot in 4K. But anyway, I want to get this truck washed. It's a gosh darn mess. I'm headed out to Pennsylvania tomorrow, so I shouldn't be doing this. But I also wanted to update everybody on. I've seen lots of grumblings on the Facebook group about my rash decision to launch Beadmaker in the store, and how I don't know, and why why there's so much hype. I don't really get the whole hype thing. It's just I see a product, and lots of people like to try new products, and it's a product that I think is extremely viable. It's exactly what I'm looking for. But one of the risks that I run in sharing the whole process here, or sharing as much of the process as possible, is that whenever I don't share every single last word, then people get confused, and so it's tricky. It's tricky for me, because I went from all by myself, all on my own, to now including everybody, and so now everybody knows where to attack, where to cut me, because I've told you how, showed you exactly how to do it, and so launching a new product is always a tricky thing. Beadmaker reminds me a lot of, like Krenzel, like the 1322. I struggle. This is a really tough spot I'm in that, especially being an engineer type, I know lots of you that watch this probably suffer from this, the paralysis by analysis, equation, if you will. The lack of ability to just leap. I vet stuff to whatever I feel comfortable with, and then I just go. Right, and sometimes the go, like for instance, when we look at the front bumper on this thing, I think I like it, but I'm not sure. Sometimes I end up with 13 exhausts on my GT3, and that happens quite often. And so the trickiest part here, now I have this store, right, that's extremely successful. Never in my wildest dreams that I think I'd be sitting here doing this, and no longer have a wealth management practice. I now have Obsessed Garage is my sole focus, which is like a dream come true, and so there has to be moments or times when I just leap, just make a choice, and test as much as I feel comfortable testing, and then make a choice and make a pick. So I'll give you an example that you don't see all the behind the scenes stuff. Let's talk. Think about the K1322, right? The 1322 TS. So if you don't know the backstory, I was supposed to go to Germany to sit down with the Krenzel family, introduce myself, tell them how this is all happening, and why am I selling all this stuff, and why all of a sudden is this happening, and everybody's sort of getting on board. And then what I hope to see in the future, and it was an opportunity to have an audience with the guys that make the stuff. And my sole agenda was, I want the 1622 to turn off, right? I want it to just shut off. When I release the trigger, why can't we have the 1122, the stand-up version? Why can't we have a shelf mount version? And the main reason I wanted the shelf mount version was for OG HQ version 1.0. I wanted to put a similar system to this, but much, much lower end. I didn't want to spend $7,000-8,000 on a washing system out there at OGHQ 1.0 all the way out by my office, when most of the time I'll be washing cars here. All right, so, and this is generally my focus, and excuse the selfishness of this. Almost all the stuff that I come out with is the stuff that I want, right? And so the custom install pressure washer solution, forgive me, had very little to do with you and more to do with me, right? So for those that think that I do this selfishly for the money, it's actually the opposite. I'm doing it selfishly because I want the thing. So it's still selfish, so you can still feel good about faulting me for it, right? But the selfishness is because I really want it. I want it for my garage. That stupid bucket filler for $220 that I wish cost like $40. I wanted it. It's awesome. The 1322 was something that I wanted. And I think about it a little bit differently now, to be honest with you, because now there's this extreme validation that, man, I came up with this thing and then other people want it. And the thesis there is that if I want it, then other people probably want it. And so it feels good to be able to offer it to people. It's really freaking hard. It'd be a lot easier to just buy it. But then having to source it and keep it in stock and deal with all of the people, it's not just this easy thing where I make a YouTube video and then magically make millions of dollars. I'm working way harder than I ever have. In fact, at times I think, man, I really had it good, 4 years ago, when I was just, I had a couple hundred clients and all I did was go into the office from 8 to 4 and go home and go to the gym, and that was it. So here we go with this 1322. I go to the family, I convince them to do it, and I've convinced them to do it, and I don't know if it's going to work, right? So they send me a prototype, and right after the prototype comes, there's 180 of them coming. And so I spent all this time and energy, and I flew up there on my own dime and stayed and begged them. And now, I begged them to let me be the distributor for it. Let me sell this. This is my idea. Nobody else cares about this. But as soon as we, me and you, the audience, as soon as I start telling you, and then you start telling everybody about it, and then it gets obviously spread on YouTube, there's a certain sense of, man, it would really suck that, you do all this work and then, somebody puts it on Amazon for $100 less than what I'm selling it for, and then you do all the work to create the product, and then you kind of get, I don't want to say screwed, but then it becomes watered down or muddied, right? And so now this thing shows up. I have 2 days to decide, if we're good to go. And I used it once, just turned it on. Okay, great. It turns off when I release the trigger, and then I use it to wash one half of one car, and then boom, we're in it. It's up. I created it. Had to leap. So I'm leaping into this product, right? That turned out to be great. It's amazing. But the leap had to happen. I think we're okay to sit that on the plastic. And so here we go. Now we're in it. Now we've got a great product. Everything's good. There's a risk there that we would end up with a bad batch, which has happened with Mosmatic guns several times. For those of you who are, got in the beginning, I remember when we had, some of you remember this, you got a gun and it's leaking right out the handle. And so then I have hundreds of guns that I sent out that are all problematic, and we're sending out, making videos on how to fix it. And I want to talk about stressing out. I don't like to let anybody down, and I take it personally, as anyone would, that is vouching or selling a product. You're going to take it personally. There's no question. And and almost everyone was super gracious. A lot of guys fixed it. They were sending me patches on here's a way to fix it, to share people. Some people made videos that I was able to share. It was amazing. But the 1322 was one of these things where I had to just leap. Okay, here we go. It's a product that I haven't really tested. It's very similar to what I wanted it to. Very similar to the machine I already had tested. But let's put it out there. I'm going to stake my reputation on it. Hope it works. Let's get over to the other wheel. So what I could do, a really simple solution to all of this. What I could do is just withhold the information, right? Which was tricky to do because I'm sharing with you my life, so I could just not talk about it. right? And I could do everything in arrears, right? I could create a persona, right? And I could create a 6-month look, 6-month wait look into my life, right? So I can't even imagine how difficult that would be. I know that's a lot of corporations, companies, and the reason why I think they end up doing that is because they learn lessons from people really not responding well to them, sharing too much, right? And so that's why politicians never tell you like it is. That's because they can't, because the pitchforks come out, right? And so I'm sharing this whole process of, by the way, I don't know what I'm doing, right? So I like to think of myself as a pretty sharp dude. I used to think I was better, I've talked about that a lot. But I still, I know that I'm deeply flawed, but I like to think that I'm pretty discerning, and I work hard. And, we all want to think well of ourselves. I probably think a little higher of myself than most people do, which is probably somewhat unhealthy. But we have this 1322 to come out with, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be way better if I could just live in arrears and post videos 6 months from now after I know that everything works out, and then I could share it, or I could redo it, I could script it, I could do a much better job. I could fake it, not fake it, but I could withhold, right? You withhold the information and just launch, right? What I do, and this is why I think it's so successful, like we'll take a look at citrus wash. I've shared with you the whole process of all the pain I've had to go through just because I want to have a gallon of it on my shelf. And then it became so popular, and then the company doesn't make it. They don't want anything to do with me. So I'm beating their doors in because everybody's beating my doors in. And then there's, Scott's out there. Scott and I had a conversation, Dallas Auto Detail and Paint Correction. Scott's out there saying, you idiot, why do you even mess with this crap? You can get it and do it much cheaper. And I'm saying, well, because I like it. And so Scott and I had a good chuckle about that. I like the product, I like how it works, and so I want it. And the only way to have it is to go out and get it, right? And so what happens for me is I never have to sell anything because I'm sharing the whole process, creating this demand, because it takes me 8 months or 6 months or 3 months longer than I thought it would, because again, I'm not sharing with you the life in arrears, I'm sharing with you life in real time. And so by the time it shows up, I put pressure on myself to get it to you, even at the risk of it not being completely vetted and it might not work. Right, when the prototype of this comes out, I'm gonna buy 800 of them and I'm gonna sell them. And I pray to God that it works. But I have to leap, right? There has to be a leap that has to happen. And I haven't shared with you the leaps that I've had to take, right? Or not as much, or haven't explained this to you. So 1322 comes out. It's a success. Everything's great. Good to go. Hopefully I can convince Krensla that, by you guys sharing and buying it, that hopefully I can keep some semblance of exclusivity on the product that wouldn't exist if I didn't beg them and plead with them. I mean, I literally did everything short of getting on my knees and begging them. While, 2 of their other top distributors were looking at me like, no one's gonna want this. I said, guys, I'm telling you, I'm begging you that I know what people want because I want it so badly for my garage. I'm telling you that the people are really gonna want this setup. And even if they can't get it right now, I'm just begging you that if you make the investment, over time, this will be significant. We're going to create a whole generation of dreamers, people that want this product. And so I'm sharing the development of it, and then it comes out 3 months or 4 months later than I told everybody it would. And I put immense pressure on myself, and I put it out in the store, and luckily, worked out, good to go. So what does this have to do with bead maker, right? Why even having this discussion? Well, one of the reasons I'm telling you bead makers is because I'm about to put it on the truck again. And because people are questioning my, have I jumped the shark, right? Have I sold out? Maybe I have, I don't know. I mean, now I'm doing this for a living and I'm freaking screwed if it doesn't work. So, I mean, I literally punted my 15-year career in the trash. There's probably gonna be some semblance of, man, I've gotta survive here. But I think you guys know me, that I'm incapable of faking it, right? Doesn't do me any good. I'm playing the long game here, right? The short game would be, let's go off-roading and let's go do some donuts, and then let's sell some stuff. Why don't I just take on the Adams line and become the #1 Adams dealer? I'll get better margins. Or why don't I just go create my own line? I just call up B&B and we make my own line of stuff, and I try to make the best. But that's not, again, I want to play the long game here. And I think if you could see the vision I have in my head for what I think this is going to be for all of us, yes, again, it's selfish in that it's what I want. I want to go to a place where all this cool stuff is and shop on the shelves and get to play and touch and feel it. I want to go to the trainings that are going to happen there. I want to mainly hang out with the dudes that I otherwise couldn't have met, right? Because I just don't have that skill set to go out and meet the people that I want to go to dinner with and go to dinner with for 2.5 hours, and we have to go home because our wives are going to get mad at us. Right? That's what I want. And I know that if I want it, that other people want it too. And so I have a vision for what that destination looks like. And if I sit around living life in arrears, and if I sit around with 1322s and I don't put it out there, this isn't going to happen. Right? This vision that I have for this bigger thing it's not going to go down. I'm going to be the typical engineer. I'm going to sit here and hem and haw, and I'm going to perfect it on paper, and then nothing's going to happen. And I'm going to be stuck in my own head, and I'm going to be, panicked and freaking out and a disaster. And I'm going to have 3 close friends, and that's it. And they're not going to be at a Rupes event. There's not going to be a training event. I'm never going to meet Jason Kilmer, and he's going to teach me how to wet sand. I'm never going to go and hang out with Todd Cooperrider and have him show me how to hold the polisher up to the edge. None of that stuff happens without the leap, right? So here's a little part of the vision. Here's a little bit of the part that you guys don't see, or you probably don't think about. I got a freaking hole in my darn bubble over there, and it's driving me crazy because I got to fix that. Think about part of the vision here. Detailing is just one component of this. I really enjoy this. I think I really can add value to the detailing process. I think that I can, provide a unique perspective that doesn't appeal to everyone, but it appeals to a pretty decent amount of people. And whether it validates, whether you like this brush and I like it too, so we validate each other because of that. Maybe that's some of it. Part of it is the retired CEO of whatever who is really, wants to take care of his car now, has infinite resources, and just says, look, I don't have the appetite that you have, Matt, for all of the details, so I'm just going to write a $8,000 check and buy everything you got in the store. I mean, there's a real, monetary advantage to me to appeal to that person. But in order to create the destination, in order to create what's in my head, I have to craft this a certain way, right? So my process is my process, and what I refuse to do is compromise my process for that guy, for the target. Again, I don't really have a target. I just have an idea of who this would appeal to, right? And it appeals to a young up-and-comer who will have what that guy has, will have the resources to do this, and they'll piece it together. I mean, this is what I did. This is what most of us did, is you piece together your arsenal, and before you know it, you're 40 years old and you have a great gig and you have lots of means, right? Part of the long game is this sharing this or creating this place where that all walks of obsessed lives want to be a part of it. Because I want to be a part of it, and we all want to get together, and we all want to go to dinner together, and because otherwise we're going to have a hard time meeting the friends that we're hoping to find, right? And then yes, it exists. The reason it can exist is because of the success of the sales, the success of the events, the success of the stuff. It affords me the ability to go create the vision because now I have the resources to do it. So here's something I think about, now I think about my process in combination with what is reasonable, what I could teach someone to do, right? And teach it in a reasonable fashion. And one of my core beliefs in this whole thing, and it would be much more profitable if I would just drop this belief, but one of my core beliefs is that I don't want to become a retailer and have, because I'll have a tendency in my cabinets to have all kinds of products. I'll have 6 interior cleaners and 12 soaps and 10 different drying aids and all these different products. That's my tendency. It's because I want to try it all. I want to test it all. I want to play with it all. I want to have it all, right? So I force myself at times to throw it away because it gets out of control. And so I have to understand that in order to provide a solution, to provide an understandable solution, I have to pick moments in time of what my process is. Again, I don't want to compromise the process, but I need to keep in mind that I'm at times going to have to do the 1322 thing where I just leap, right? So, moment in time, this is what I'm going to have to launch. If it were up to me, I'd probably be on version 6.0 of the wheel package already, and I haven't even dreamt up what the darn interior package is going to be. I want to create the whole solution. I've got a gosh darn catalog of Prevost stuff that I want to get up in the store, and so if I sit there jerking around with the darn wheel package every 5 seconds of every day, I'm never going to get anywhere. And so I have to pick moments in time. I'm always going to be evolving my process, and there are going to be periods where I just say, look, this other thing that hasn't come out yet, I'm going to have to postpone because I want to get, my process has changed. And if I want it, other people probably want it. So what you don't see is all the thought in my head. I mean, it's literally a house of horrors in my brain telling me. I think a lot of you know this because you have the same issues that I do. But it's like it's a tapestry of nightmares up in there at all times. And one of my nightmares is creating systems, not compromising, because it'd be a lot easier again if I just went to Adams and said, hey, let me just use all your products. And I think I'm starting to get enough pull where pretty much any manufacturer, maybe not any, but the vast majority of them will sell to me. So I can pick and choose what I want to sell, within reason, because there's a mutual benefit to both sides. But it has to fit, right? So drying aid is one of these things that's really been weighing on me. Drying aid, end of wash. Again, I don't really think about drying aid. I call it a drying aid a lot. I'd say that word a lot, but I think about this logically. There's only one time, so my car's coated or it's waxed or protected at almost all times, right? And so, with the exception of when I'm going to polish it. And so, at some point, I want to top that. And the only point for me that makes any sense is after I've washed it. I'm not going to wash it, go park it in the garage, let it sit for 3 days, and then top it. It just doesn't make any sense. That introduces a whole other time of touching the paint. So to me, it just seems very logical that I would put whether it's Reload, ECH2O, C2V3, Kamikaze Overcoat, help me out here, you know what I'm saying, Optimum Spray Wax, Kinetech Showroom Shine, Ammo Hydrate, pick your battle, pick your product. My original intention was to just send links to ammo, but then I discovered Optimum, and I really liked the idea of the mixture of Optimum, and sitting down with Dr. G, and I liked how the product, I didn't like how much harder it was to put on, but I liked how it looked more. I felt like it gave, more protection, UV protection, and so although some would probably argue the only reason you didn't choose Hydrate was because you couldn't sell it, it's one product. How much money have I made selling frickin' Optimum Spray Wax? $500, it's not like I've sold thousands. I think I've reordered it twice. It's not like I'm selling zillions of bottles of Optimum Spray Wax. And so, again, that's inconsequential to me. I want to choose something that I can refer to people and I'm going to choose something that I like the most. So that combination is important to me. And so I've been thinking so long and hard about, I've got Kinutech, I got Optimum Spray Wax, I'm going to have to bring in ECH2O, I'm going to have to bring in Reload, but then if I start using a G-Technic coating, I don't like Kamikaze Overcoat. It's just too hard to deal with. I know some of you love it, I just don't like it. Do I bring an OptiSeal? What do I do? But what I don't want to have is, again, I don't want to have 37 drying aids for different preferences. I know I'm going to lose out on sales doing that, but I'm also going to lose a lot of people in confusion and gridlock, and then I'm just going to become a retailer, right? Again, the vision for me is very different, where I want to be very specific. And when I be very specific and say, these are the products that I'm using on my car today, one of the things that really occurred to me is I really would like to have, personally and through an Obsessed Garage, I'd like to have one product that fits. Coating, wax, right? I'm still so fond of Power Lock. I'm probably always going to have a car in my life with that on it. I've coated the trucks because they're the trucks and it would be a nightmare to try to deal with. But I wanted something that would work with both. And let me get set up to wash, otherwise I'm going to be here all night. I got the new nozzle on, but this is a 4.0 size, which is a little gnarly. I'm pushing 2,000 plus PSI here, so I got to keep my distance. So again, this is about a month. Dr. Beasley's bead maker, it's topped with bead maker. So Dr. Beasley's Nanoresin Pro on the front clip. The rest of the car is Kamikaze Miyabi topped with ISM, topped with bead maker on the rear. The Dr. Beasley's window coating and didn't turn out so great. So that's why, the main reason why I'm bringing Wolf's in. I think I got Wolf's figured out. It's going to cost me $2 grand to bring it in. Oy. There goes any profitability on that. Actually, let me, no, it's $1,350 plus $550. So what is that? 1,900 bucks. Just, I don't, and I may have import duties on top of that as well. That's just shipping. Gosh, that's way too much pressure. The other thing I learned is what I used to do is I would do this. I would open the door, put my foot on here and close the door and stop the side thing. Well, that's what blew out the transmission or the gearing in Michelle's. And so Ultimate Auto schooled me on that, said, that's why you broke it, don't do that. Here we are. I've been literally trying to figure out what the heck am I going to do with, because I want to come out with a coating package. That, that's something that I get asked about every second of every day. I hadn't figured it out. I think, by the way, I really liked Crystal Serum Light. I really liked it. I'm really surprised because I thought it was going to look super coating-y. I'm just got this crazy thing in my head about coating and the coating look. I kind of like the look of Seacort's UK, the 2.0, but it's so freaking hard to deal with. And now we have 3.0, so I thought maybe we could do 3.0. So I thought that was possible to use that. So that was going to be, testing that. But anyway, I want to have a single, so my vision for this is your car washing package, which would include some sort of drying aid, right? That interacts or works with, there's a protection package, and there's package 1 and package 2. Package 1 is a less costly, simpler waxed option, right? So Power Lock Colinite. And then there's a coating option with a base coating, topper, and then we would have a single drying aid that was part of the car washing package that would fit with these other options. Again, the thesis here is that I don't want to have 37 different options, all these options all over the place, and because I don't have all these options in my process, so why would I want to create this option in the process that I'm recommending to others, right? So this is what's going through my head. I'm like, well, ECH2O doesn't work on wax, and then spray wax doesn't work on this, and so maybe I'll just do two. I'll do two things, and then I've got a third drying aid because I like Kinutech and the door jams because it doesn't leave any staining or anything on the plastics or the seats or the areas in the jams. So now I got 3 drying aids, and I'm like, and so I don't want to get my foam cannon up. I'm getting all fired up. Notice I feel like I have a different energy about me. No, I'm not doing 2 jobs, right? the massive amount of passion is just welling up. So 150 mLs of Adam's soap. So here we go, thinking about the process. I mean, believe me if you want, whatever. I mean, there's not much I can do about that. I'm thinking about my process. What am I going to use? I don't like having all these different options. And then, combining that with what am I going to suggest people do? And I don't want to send them 27 different links to different things. I want to keep this simple. And then I want to replace version 1.1, version 2.0, version 3.6, version 4.0, whatever it takes in the future. Now, again, selfishly, this means I get to chase new cool stuff. I get to sell more stuff. I get to engage with more people, whatever. It's just, it all works out. So here we are. I'm in Boise. I wasn't thinking anything of it at the time, but this confluence of events is all coming to a head. I need to make a decision on what coating I'm going to use. Is ISM the end all be all for me? Is that what I'm going to use? Do I just refer people out to esoteric, and just skip it, But the issue there, referring, it's a great product, that's for certain. But it's a hard product to get. I mean, the guy can't make it fast enough, and then they don't have enough in stock, and so the scale of the amount of people, it just isn't going to work. I'm going to look like a freaking idiot saying you should buy this and you can't get it, And so the question is there a product that I like more? Is there something that's acceptable? And I start thinking about it. Am I jumping the shark here? Am I just trying to sell something? And it's just not the case. I mean, it's not how I'm wired. If you believe that, then I don't know what to tell you. So all this stuff is rattling in my brain, and I'm there, trying to figure out microfiber. I'm already on to microfiber version 2.0 because I wanted a wheel towel for my process. And so I flew out to Boise because I went to the Raptor driving experience, and so I was there. I don't know if it was the first day or the second day, but we were setting up to record the podcast, with me and Levi doing detox with Levi, and so then Anthony gets this big goofy smile on his face, that goofy smile that Anthony gets, right? And he goes, "Sorry, Anthony," and he goes. And Levi goes, "We got to get Matt to try Bead Maker." I'm like, "Bead Maker? That sounds like a freaking stupid name." I think I may have even said that. And Anthony has this look on his face, like, "Oh my gosh, we're about to blow this guy's mind." But they looked a little nervous too, because it's me. I'm such a. I don't pull any punches. I tell them like it is, like I tell them with their towels, like I hate that towel, and I think, I like to think that people can appreciate that. They don't have to beat around the bush. And so we go downstairs, and they tell me, well, it's a P&S product. So this is my own ignorance, right? And I hope Rennie never sees this. But I had seen Rennie Doyle at a real famous detailer. I've been doing this a long time. I don't know him, but I, just like we all do, I think I know him and make snap judgments. And Rennie reminds me of this dude. Crap, what the heck was his name? He was the typing teacher's son, and that dude was fully grown at like 12 years old. And I was skinny, small, and scared, right? Rennie reminds me of that dude who used to come up to me and push me into my locker, right? And forgive me, Rennie, if you ever do watch this. But the whole detail mafia, that whole crew, it's not that, I didn't fault them. I mean, they have a niche, they have an audience, they have a stigma about them. I think they're all probably a lot nicer than we all think. Love them or hate them, just like with me, just like with Scott, just like with AutoFanatic, just like with all these guys, you love them or hate them. Or maybe somewhere in between for people who are a little more PC. but I just never gave the product a fair shake. And I'm like, well, it's just not what I stand for. The product, I didn't even think anything of it. I just thought it was a generic company. And, and they just put Rennie put his name on it. So it's probably decent enough. But I'd never really read or heard, or, it's not real popular on at least the places that I frequent online. And it's just a product line that I never really considered. The packaging, the labeling doesn't appeal to me. And call me what you want, but packaging to me is important. I like that. I like to participate in that. I like to have this stuff on my shelf. In fact, I like to have this stuff on my shelf more than I like using it. Right now, I'd rather be looking at my soap than washing my darn truck, because this thing is a monster. So I just never gave the product a fair shake. And so I went down there with arms crossed. I think you guys saw, many of you probably saw the video. I'm down there, arms crossed. Shoot, I need to put this in the bucket, but I guess I can't scratch this. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, guys, But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, maybe this could be a solution that I've never heard of, that I know many people haven't really considered. It's probably been out for a while. I really don't know much about it. And I started asking Levi questions. I mean, you saw in the video. I'm like, well, what about with the coating? Yes. What about with the wax car? Yes. Well, what about the people? What about the whole detail mafia thing? He's like, Matt, I think you're scared of these guys. But they're a lot nicer and cooler than you think. If you've ever met these guys, you'd get along. And maybe you should give up that whole getting pushed around in high school thing, because it's just not true. I'm being a little, dramatic here. He says, Bob Phillips owns P&S. He says, this product is amazing. It's something like you've never seen. It's not gonna blow your mind or change your life. There are some idiosyncrasies to it. You have to use a lot of product. There's some oddities to it. But when it's done, when it cures, it's like no other product he's ever seen. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's just put it on. And they turn the camera on. So we're doing the whole thing, and they're showing me on this test hood. And when they're putting it on, it's freaking smearing around. I'm like, well, shoot, could I use this as a drying aid? For what I classify as my drying process, right? Could I use it, what I talked about in the beginning of the video, could I use it there? Works in a coating, works in a wax, that's what piqued my interest. I'm like, well, that's interesting. That's kind of what I'm looking for, to solve this problem that I have of having all these darn products, not knowing what to do with them. And so we use it, and then you see me there. I don't want to admit it, but it's pretty freaking awesome. I'm like, dang it, this is great. Could this be the it? Could this be the product? And I said, what about the darn detail mafia? They're not going to let me sell their stuff. I'm like the antithesis. We're like the opposites. We balance the force. I'm like the nerdy dude wannabe, and these are the legit, detailers, right? This isn't going to work. He says, no, Matt, Bob Phillips owns P&S. Let's get him on the phone. He says, Bob's the nicest guy in the world. I said, no, Levi, you're the nicest guy in the world. He said, well, then he's a close second. And so we get him on the phone, and I tell him, Bob he doesn't know who I am. He doesn't give a crap. And he's like, okay, yeah, maybe I've heard of you. And so I started polling him on the product. I thought he'd said on that call that the product had been around since the 1960s. No, he said the company's been around since the 1960s. His dad, built the company. The product came out in 2016. And I think what everybody has a big bug up their butt about this is that, well, why haven't we heard about the product? And I think for me, the reason I haven't heard about it is because I dismissed the company, because I had all these preconceived notions about it. Made all this stuff up. Just like I do about everything. Well, it's like we always do, that I tell you not to do because it doesn't serve you. And there's an infinite amount of products, and I already had a good product. I'd already had good processes. But my mind was open because I'm looking for something to fill a void, right, in my process. And so we put it on. I'm like, this is freaking pretty incredible. I didn't even tell them that there. but I was thinking it. And so I came home, I immediately ordered the bottles. And I called Bob when I got home and said, well, what's the story on this? Could I carry this? Is this viable? Is this viable? Again, I'm thinking about my process, and now my process is something that I'm imparting on the world. And so it has to fit. What would be the logistics of this? If I can't sell it, how could I get people the information on it? How could I refer it out? How could that work? I don't want to deal with affiliations and affiliate links. It's way better for me if I can sell it, because then I can control the distribution of it. I can make sure it gets to you a certain way, a certain fashion. My end goal is to get rid of all drop shipping altogether. Whether that's inefficient or not, I don't really care. I just don't want to deal with the mistakes. I'd rather make the mistake, because I'll go and we'll fix it, right? We'll fix the mistake, or do the best we can. And when you're drop shipping, you have disinterested parties. I don't have control over the employees and who's talking to people and all that stuff. So I want to control that experience. And so Bob and I had a great conversation. I then, of course, used it on the truck. And I'm like, this took forever to put on. And I didn't show the result because I just put it on. Plus, Scott from Dallas Auto Paint Corrections, he messaged me and said, this stuff isn't going to work in humidity. And me being me and Scott being Scott, I'm like, I don't believe him. I'm going to put it on anyway. And so I put it on and said, screw you, Scott. I'm gonna try this. I'm not gonna listen to you. And I think he would appreciate that, and because he would say the same thing to me. And so I put it on, struggled through it, and then I got a call from Bob, and he's like, dude, to fix your process, one, don't do it in the freaking rain. I said, well, I don't have a choice. So he said, don't do that. The humidity makes it harder. And and then Levi told me, he said, what you need to do is you need to use a lower pile towel, and you need to spray more on the towel. You still need to get lots of product on the car. That's a disadvantage to it. And to be honest with you, forgive the insensitivity here. I don't give a crap what it costs. I'm not comparing costs. I'm not detailing for a living. The vast majority of the people who are buying from me aren't either. And if you are, it's a cheap enough product that really doesn't matter. And I was also under the impression, which is true, I did it on my dad's car, I just didn't video it. But if you're going to use it as a drying aid, or after as part of the drying process, the initial application, you need a crap ton of product. And the way to help it on a coating like this, to keep from smearing so much, it'll still smear around. That's a disadvantage of the product. Is spray more on the towel, less on the paint than I was doing. And then use a lower pile towel for the final wipe. And that made a huge difference in the process. But I didn't show that because I just got it. Remember, having to take a leap. But the key takeaway to this whole thing was, I put it on the paint, I walk away, I come back 2 hours later, and it looks better than anything I've ever seen. Like, this is freaking cool. So now I ask myself, is this worth the pain? I mean, this whole washing process is a pain in the rear, right? So don't give me this crap about, well, it's hard to put on. Well, everything we do is hard. This whole thing is hard. Now, everybody has to draw the line somewhere. Like I draw the line with a Master Blaster. I don't want to get that stupid thing out and drag it around. I don't mean to call it stupid, so don't get bent out of shape. You know what I mean. So I made the choice to use an inferior leaf blower, just because it works better for me, right? And then I don't dig my heels in, but this is why. I don't want to drag all those gosh darn power cords all over the place. So, here we are. I got this product. It's a pain in the butt to put on. Way harder than any of the other stuff I was using. It looks better than anything else I was using. So that kind of counterbalances. But the key for me is now I have a single product, right? Single product, works for coating, works for wax. I don't have a lot of time to test it because I need to move. I just got to leap, right? I just got to go. I can't sit around testing everything for 12 years because then it'll never go anywhere, especially now that I have to survive, right? And I only have so much mental shelf space, and I'm sure a lot of you are like this, like me, where it's like, I don't want to say it's instant gratification, but when I leap, I just go. I got to do it. I have to do it now. I can't sleep thinking about it. I want to get things done. It's what makes me tick, right? And so I call up Bob when I'm at the Rupes event, after I'd put it on 4 cars, put it on my dad's car, put it on my RS, put it on my Raptor, my white Raptor, put it on the blue Raptor, and I put it on the WRX again after I'd ordered it. And I ordered 2 pallets. Kind of stinks because I wish I'd ordered it right away, because you know, the rag company sold 3 or 4 pallets of it based on my dumb face looking at it, right? So it would have been nice to, you know, if you were calling me a sellout and saying the only reason you're doing this is for the money, I should have done it earlier. Gosh, I mean, look, think of how many gosh darn posts there were in the Facebook group about everybody trying this stuff. I don't think I would call that hype. I would call it saying, people say, well, I want to see what this is all about. I like testing stuff. I like playing with stuff. So why all of a sudden would anybody care? I've been doing this since day one of screwing with crap and leaping. Just, okay, here we go. The very beginning of Obsessed Garage wasn't me sharing so much the learning process. It was just sharing what I already knew. Well, I've run out of stuff. I've told you everything I know. And so now I'm sharing the process. I'm sharing the discovery process from here on out. So that's why I end up cutting holes in the cabinet on the wrong side. You know, wait till you see how much other stuff I screw up coming up here in the future. And so this whole rash decision about I'm just jumping into a product without testing it, and I'm just doing it to sell crap, is a freaking load of garbage. If it could give you a glimpse into this brain, this craziness that goes on in my head, you would feel sorry for me. It's a freaking disaster. I have to pull over half the time I'm driving down the road because I'm freaking out, panicked. I don't go to the mountain trip because I didn't think I could make it there. I sold my trailer because it stresses me out to drive it. You know? So, don't give me that crap about jump the shark. I've been thinking about this more than most people are awake in a day. What do I do with a gosh darn drying aid? It's the most ridiculous thing on the planet, but it's just how I'm wired. And it all goes back to the vision of the destination that you can't see. I'm telling you, I know it in my soul, and maybe I'll make this place that I'm the only one there. But I want to go there. I want to buy from this place. I want to become a member of this place. I want the opportunity to come and hang out with the other dudes that are there. And I want to draw people to it so that I have friends for life. Because it's a heck of a lot easier to just do it by myself, right? It'd be way easier to punt this camera in the trash and just do it alone. Just go make $500,000 a year, focused on my career, and buy whatever cars I want, and retire early, and do it all by myself and be miserable. It's way easier. But I want something better, right? I want better than that. And so I'm not always going to be able to tell you the whole story, because what I'm learning, and this is something that I don't want to happen. So this is how you'll know I jumped the shark, when I stop making these videos. Because this video is going to have lots of backlash. It's going to have lots of people hating me even more than they already hate me. It's going to be part of the deal. It's way easier to just go at it alone and not take this risk. What the heck did I do with the thing? Way easier. But then I end up in the gosh darn loony bin because I'm all at it by myself, on my own. And so you'll know I jumped the shark when I stop telling you this stuff. When I stop sharing what the store did, that I did 190 orders in a day, and holy crap, how the heck are we going to fulfill this? And I'm not showing you that to brag and say, well, we sold $20,000 of stuff. What I'm hoping to do is share with you the process. I hope this gives you a little glimpse into what I'm thinking when I make a decision to do something. And I don't want to let anybody down, but I'm also not going to stop, right? I'm not going to give in to the vision. I know that I'm going to have to create waves, and I know I'm going to have to create enemies, and I really hate that. I'd rather just not do it. But to make this vision happen, I think I can do it without leaving a complete wake of disaster. But there's going to be some collateral damage. And I hate accepting that. But it's just, I'm learning that's the way it is. And I'm also learning why, Scott made the video talking about, I really respect what he's talking about and giving you a glimpse into the industry. And what I want to do is I want to fly to the place that makes whatever the variant of citrus wash is, and I want to show you how it's made at the risk that everybody's going to copy it. But the reason why these companies don't share it is because they've been burned so many times by letting too many people in, and then their formulation gets stolen. Yeah. And there's also a fear there that, well, it costs $1.80 to produce and they're selling it for $15 and that no one would buy it. When I think the argument is more people would buy it if you told them, what it cost. And you told them and showed them, well, yeah, we sold $20,000 today, but here's a glimpse into the store and how it was created and how it was built, and here are the various costs, and here are the pitfalls and the pros and cons of being in business, and how it's probably easier to just have a job, right? How it's easier to not have a side hustle. By the way, I don't think I've been very clear about what I think a side hustle should be. I think a side hustle should be when you've mastered your craft. Again, it doesn't matter what I think, but my lessons that I've learned, if I tried to side hustle when I started my wealth management practice, then that would have failed, and the side hustle would have failed because neither one would have gotten full attention. And so I haven't been very clear. I think everybody should side hustle before you make that leap. But I think you need to be willing to, to suffer in one area, one way or the other. And so if you're 18 years old and you just got your first job, or you're 26 years old and you're just starting out in your career, like I was at 24 in my wealth management business, a side hustle wasn't going to happen, wasn't going to work. And it didn't work at 40. So anyway, let's keep chatting. I'm going to rinse the truck off with DI water, and then let's put the bead maker on, which is the point of this video. So like I was saying, it really opens me up to this whole thing coming crashing down and failing because I'm being so open with this and sharing, again, too much. I know it. I'm sharing too much. My coach yells at me all the time. You want to take care of people. I don't want to take care of people. I want to assume you're not an idiot. I want to assume that you can think on your own. And so I want to ensure that I'm able to maintain this, this sharing of the detail, right? Making a video like this, being as candid as possible. And I know some of you are going to think that there's something extra here and that I'm holding back and I'm making up, there's some other stuff that I'm not telling you, and that there's some ulterior motive. I get that, but nothing I can do about that. I'm not going to do anything about that. But I think you'll know. So here's a way you can call me out, right? You'll know that I've gone rogue and that I've been compromised when I get a 997 GD3 RS 4.0, and rumor has it I spent 700 grand on it and I didn't tell you about it. That's how you'll know. You'll know then that I've been compromised, right? You'll know then that I jumped the shark, that when I put bead maker in the store, that I did it just to make a quick buck because of the hype. You'll know. There's a bug right here. So now theoretically I should be able to use less towels. I should be able to use this as more of a traditional, what I would call a drying aid. I'm just going to use it more as a lubricant and a product to wipe off that bug there that I didn't want to scrape off. Yeah, cool. So theoretically, what I'm going to do, take my high pile, low pile. I've already put bead maker on the truck, so now I should be able to just do this and that, and then use it as more of a traditional couple of wipe drying aid. I haven't done this on a coating yet. Yeah, that works. And I come with this, and I go here and I do that. Let's see if my water spotting, yeah, I'm telling you, man, this Nano Resin Pro, it looks like you have a water spot that just ruined everything, that you're gonna have to polish it off. You have a little bit of wipe with your lubricated towel, and boom, done. I like this stuff. But it's 500 bucks a bottle. So, talk about, I'm already in enough trouble with you guys, with the general audience. So, I don't want to push my luck. But that G-Technic, man, because the Nano Resin Pro was quite a bit more difficult to deal with, to put on. So, again, as I was saying, if you find out, via someone taking a picture on Instagram of my RS 4.0 that I didn't tell you about because I was afraid that I sold my millionth bottle of bead maker, and that the only reason I put bead maker in the store was to sell it, you'll know that it's over, right? Because you'd beaten me up enough that I stopped telling you all this stuff. Because you'd beaten me up enough that I was tired of getting, accused, and tired of getting, tired of letting everybody, teaching everybody how to cut me, that I just didn't tell anybody about it. That's when you'll know. And then you can say, I told you so. I told you it was going to happen. So I hope that day never comes. I can tell you, I can assure you right now, just using this product, it's freaking great. It looks great, works great, solves the problem. Solves the problem that you guys didn't know that I thought I had, because I didn't tell you. Because I didn't feel the need to. There was no point in time that made sense. So, that's pretty easy to do here. The second application. Let me see that water spot. Oh, gone. Yeah. All right, Jim. If you watch this video, which I'm sure you won't because it's going to be an hour long, Jim from Dr. Beasley's, we need to make Nano Resin Pro more viable. Well, if I have to buy more of it to make the quantities better, so that we can offer it to people at a slightly more acceptable price, I'll do it. Bead Maker Nano Resin Pro. Uh-oh, I got a scratch. Big old deep scratch, looks like a rock came across. I'm glad I got rid of the black grill. So that was another leap. Everybody told me not to do it. I did it anyway. You were right. I was wrong. Black was a terrible idea. So maybe that makes you feel a little better about the application. Single spritz, spritz on the towel, a couple of wipes, the initial towel. I'm not smearing it as much. Take my low pile. I'm going to be able to do the whole truck with three or four towels, but that initial application is a pain in the rear. Put that and wait a couple of hours after this, and boom, magic. The good news is my truck is going to be clean for when I take it to the airport to go down to sell you on why the K1322TS is amazing when I go to Troy's house and I put it in his garage. So I'm flying up to Pennsylvania and shooting a series of us installing it. And yes, I sold it. And yes, it's going to sell more of it. And yes, I'm going to have some success from it. And I'm sorry for that. And no, I'm not going to write everybody a check that watches the videos. It doesn't work that way. Call me greedy, call me a douchebag, call me whatever you want, but it's not realistic. If you knew the amount of effort and the amount of work and the amount of, just to take this video and to put it up, it's just an incredible and insane amount of work. And I'm telling you that as a worker, I work, I get stuff done. It's what I do. and I'm wearing myself out. So the bead maker application, look at that. I mean, it's super easy. I'm going to knock the truck out. There's another little water spot there, so let's try this. So I'm getting a little water spots because I'm freaking wash the truck in a month. That one is not wiping. I don't want to get too aggressive. That one's a little deeper. A nice follower who still believes in me sent me some IGL spot remover, so maybe we'll try that. But look at that, man. And once it solidifies, oh my gosh, it's incredible. And now we can use it as a true drying aid. I'm telling you, I'm not an idiot. I mean, I could have been wrong, but because I didn't vet this for 12 years, but I'm not. And maybe you don't like it. I don't expect everybody to like it. Not everybody likes what I'm doing, but I'm not wrong. I'm just, I would always admit when I'm wrong. This front bumper, I think I'm probably wrong on. I mean, look, it looks a little weird. So shoot, because from certain angles it looks so good. But on this, I very well could have been wrong. But it came out in 2016. I told you why I avoided it. I told you why I leaped. I don't know what I'll do if I'm going to, when I come out with the coating package, if I'll eliminate the car wax, sell off what I have. I don't know what I'll do with Kenotech, because that's such a great product, and it pains me. It pains me to not use hydrate, because I really like that. It just wouldn't work on this, and I'm always going to have some big truck that's going to have to be coated. And I'd be stupid to not get on the whole idea of testing and playing with coatings. I mean, there are some real significant advantages to it. So that's the story, man. If you don't believe me, if you don't believe in me, I can't win. I can't do it for everybody. I'd wish you just for my own, my own psyche. Maybe I guess if you don't believe me, you don't want to give me that benefit, but just give me the benefit of the doubt and move on. Go do something else. I hope you don't take this. One, I'm not looking for you to give me a rah-rah. I don't need a rah-rah. I'm going regardless. I'm going if I'm going by myself. Or it's me and Mike and Tony and Shane and 3 other people and Troy. If it's the 5 of us that are going on forever. I think if you could see, and I'm going to hope to paint this picture and paint it as much as possible, if you can see what I have in my head, the vision I have for this. It's not about selling this next product. There's a vision, there's a greater thing to all of this. And maybe I'm overestimating the need for it. Maybe I'm overestimating how important it is. I'm certainly not overestimating how important it is to me. And I would really like for you to be on board. I would love that. I mean, it'd be incredible, because I have a really tough time. My natural mechanism, if you don't believe me, then screw you. I shouldn't have that attitude. I should have more empathy. I just don't. And if I change the personality too much, then again, now I've jumped the shark. Now I've sold out. Now I've just did it just to do it, just to be whatever, to pay my GT3 RS payment, or to buy another house or something like that. But anyway, bead maker's legit. I don't care what anybody says. It's freaking awesome. And I don't care when it came out. I have it now. I didn't know about it. I screwed up on that one. I should have known about it a long time ago. The look of this, the feel of this. I don't have 12 years in it, but I'm making a wager. I'm taking a leap that it's as good as the 1322, that it's not going to let me down, that I'm not going to sell this to you. You're going to buy it from me or somebody else because I'd suggested it, and then 12 months from now it gets all goofy. I'm trusting my friend Levi there, who has tested it for longer. I'm trusting what I believe to be my gut is telling me that Bob Phillips is a legit dude that makes the product. I'm trusting that. And then I'm staking my reputation on it, and I'm asking you to trust me. And then we'll together, you'll tell me. I mean, everybody will learn about what the good, the bad, the ugly, and here's what I will do. If I put a bumper on it that isn't right, I'll frickin' chop it off and punt it in the trash. And I'll cry myself to sleep because I just blew too much money that I could have put in a college savings account and not had to work so hard. So anyway, I could talk about that. Apparently I can talk about this forever. So anyway, thanks to those that are supporting me. I really want to say the F word right now, but I'm not going to do it. I haven't said it since 2002. I promised Mike that I wouldn't say the F word. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this. Again, I'm not looking for you to comment and give me a rah-rah. I don't need emails to tell me that I'm great. That's not what I need. What I want is for people to give me a little bit of leeway in creating this destination. And I'm hoping that I can continue. I'm going to continue to let people participate. And I know that some people are going to misconstrue that as I'm using them or abusing them or getting free whatever. I found since the beginning of this that if I allow people in and invite to do stuff together, and usually I'm always doing something, and so the only thing that I can invite anybody to is to do something, and people have flown from all over the world to be a part of that. I never want to stop that. I never want to let that be compromised. I never want to let that go. So, as always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more crazy. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.